The rescue helicopter cut through the pale sky, its blades slicing the silence of Alaska's endless white wilderness. Below, the town of 𝙃𝘼𝙐𝙉 lay still, too still. From above, the pilot could see neat rows of cabins, their roofs heavy with snow. But no smoke rose from the chimneys, no dogs barked, no children played on the frozen streets. The pilot circled twice, confused. This wasn't right. Just a week ago, 𝙃𝘼𝙐𝙉 had been alive. Then the radios went silent. Now, it looked abandoned. He landed the chopper at the edge of town, its skids crunching into snow. The rescue team, 5 men hardened by Alaska's winters, stepped out. Their boots sank deep into the snow as they pulled their parkas tight. The air was sharp, biting, but what unsettled them wasn't the cold. It was the silence. "Where is everyone?" Clark muttered, scanning the empty windows. The first cabin they entered was warm, but wrong. A pot of stew sat on the stove, frozen solid. Plates were set on the table as if a family had been about to eat. A wooden rocking chair creaked gently, though no one had touched it. In the second cabin, a deck of cards lay scattered mid-game. One chair was toppled, but nothing else disturbed. And again, the door had been left wide open, letting the snow drift in. The third cabin was a child's. A small bed, neatly made, a teddy bear tucked under the blanket. But outside, half buried in snow, the team found a toy truck with long, deep scratches across its plastic sides. Like claw marks, they searched every building. Same story. Meals half finished, lanterns still burning low, coats still hanging on pegs. But not a single person, not even footprints in the snow. By sundown, the team regrouped in the town's lodge, the largest building. They built a fire and huddled close. The silence outside pressed against the walls like a weight. That night, the whispers began. At first, faint, almost like the wind shifting through cracks in the walls. But then clearer. Words. Names. Clark jolted upright. "Did you hear that?" It said my name. The others shook their heads, unease tightening their faces. But soon, they all heard it. Their own names carried on the icy gusts outside, soft but unmistakable. One man swore he saw someone standing by the window, a pale face peering in. They rushed over, but outside was nothing. Only snow stretching into the dark, untouched. The second night was worse. The firewood stack they had left by the door was gone, scattered across the snow in a perfect spiral. Deep scratches gouged the walls of the lodge, fresh, as though carved by unseen hands. They tried to radio for help, but only static hissed back. That night Johnson, the youngest of the group, disappeared. His sleeping bag lay empty, boots still by the fire, but he was gone. The only sign, a trail of his belongings leading to the door, neatly arranged as if placed there one by one. Outside, no footprints, just snow. Fear gripped the survivors. They locked the doors, piled furniture against them, and sat awake with rifles in hand. But at midnight, heavy footsteps echoed on the roof, slow, deliberate, pacing back and forth. They didn't dare open the door. The third night broke them. The whispers grew louder, circling the lodge, overlapping voices calling their names over and over. Clark cracked first. He ran outside, screaming into the night. The others followed with lanterns, but his footprints ended after 10 paces, as if he had vanished into thin air. The last survivor, Harper, stumbled through the wilderness for days, frost eating at his skin, his mind unraveling. When a passing patrol finally found him, his hair had turned pure white, He trembled, muttering through cracked lips. They walk when the snow is deepest. They called us. They called everyone. And when you answer, they take you. He died 2 days later in the hospital, his body giving in to frostbite and exhaustion. No one ever returned to 𝙃𝘼𝙐𝙉𝙍. The cabins still stand like frozen tombs, meals still waiting, doors still wide open to the eternal snow. And travelers say that when the wind howls through those empty streets, you can still hear the whispers, calling, always calling. The air in New Orleans always felt heavy at night, thick with mist, music, and whispers from the old streets. But the cemetery was different, quieter, older, forgotten. When Marcus took the job as the new night guard for St. Augustine Cemetery, he thought it would be easy money. Just patrol the grounds from midnight to dawn, keep vandals away, check the gates. Nothing more. His first night, he walked the winding stone paths with a lantern in one hand and a coffee thermos in the other. The graves stretched in every direction, marble crypts rising like little houses, iron gates rusted and crooked. The city was loud beyond the walls, but inside, nothing. Only the sound of his boots crunching gravel. At 1 a.m., he heard something strange. A faint whisper. He paused, thinking it was the wind. But it wasn't. It sounded like someone calling his name. Marcus. The hair on his neck stood up. He spun around with his lantern. Empty rows of headstones stared back. He laughed nervously. Just my head playing tricks, first night jitters. But at 2 a.m., the real fear began. As he turned a corner, he froze. On a row of old crypts, he saw them. Shadows. Dozens of them, sitting silently on the gravestones. Their forms were black, almost featureless, but he could feel their eyes on him. They didn't move. They just sat, watching. Marcus stepped back, his lantern flickering. Who's there? No answer. Just the long, slow creak of the iron gate behind him, swinging open on its own. He shut himself in the guard shack for the rest of the night, refusing to step outside again. The next night, he tried to convince himself it had been a trick of the light. Shadows, his mind playing with him. But when 2 a.m. came, they were back. More of them this time. Standing now, not sitting. Closer, he shined his lantern on them, but the light didn't chase them away. It only seemed to make their faces clearer. Pale, hollow eyes. Mouths that didn't move, but whispered anyway. Marcus. He ran, slamming the shack door shut. All night, he heard scratching against the windows. By the third night, he wanted to quit. But the paycheck was good, and the manager dismissed his fears. This place is old, son. It plays tricks on people. You'll get used to it. That night, he carried his father's revolver. Midnight passed quietly, but at 2:17 a.m., he felt it. The weight of eyes on him. He turned, and the shadows were everywhere. On gravestones, on the paths, standing in rows like mourners. And this time, one of them stepped forward. It looked human once. A man in a tattered suit, skin gray as stone, eyes black and bottomless. Its mouth opened, and the whisper wasn't soft anymore. Stay with us, Marcus. The others joined in, dozens of whispers blending into a chorus. The ground seemed to tremble. The graves rattled. Marcus dropped the lantern and ran for the gates. But when he reached them, they were locked. He rattled them, screamed for help. But the streets outside were empty. Behind him, footsteps dragged closer. The next morning, the day shift arrived. They found the guard shack empty. Marcus's thermos lay on the desk, still warm. His lantern was broken in the gravel path, and carved into a fresh marble headstone at the center of the cemetery was a name that hadn't been there before: Marcus Hill. The grave was filled. No one ever saw Marcus again. Now, every new night guard tells the same story. Around 2 a.m., when the mist settles low and the lanterns flicker, they see shadows gathering on the crypts. And sometimes, when the whispers grow loud enough, they hear Marcus's voice among them. Boston's subway system is old, older than most people realize. Beneath the city, layers of forgotten tunnels stretch like veins, sealed off after fires, collapses, and accidents. Most are hidden, locked behind rusted gates, but not all of them. It was a rainy October night when 4 college students, Ryan, Jess, Malik, and Sarah, decided to explore the tunnels. They'd read about abandoned platforms and ghost stations, and Ryan, a thrill seeker with a camera, wanted proof. They found the entrance behind a construction site, slipping through a broken fence and into the dark. The air was damp, the smell of mold and iron heavy in their noses. Their flashlights cut across graffiti-stained walls, rusting pipes and broken tiles. "Creepy," Sarah muttered, her voice echoing too loudly. "It's just old," Ryan said, grinning into his camera. "Think of the views we'll get." For the first hour, it was fun. They laughed, joked, filmed themselves in the eerie glow of their flashlights. Rats skittered across the rails, and distant drips echoed through the chambers. But then they found the tunnel. It wasn't on any map Malik had printed. The bricks were darker, slick with moisture. The entrance was half hidden behind a collapsed wall, like it hadn't been meant to be found. "This doesn't look safe," Jess said, backing away. "Exactly," Ryan smirked. "That's what makes it perfect." Reluctantly, they followed him inside. The tunnel was colder, much colder. Their breath puffed white as they walked. The walls dripped constantly, though there was no source of water. The further they went, the narrower it seemed to grow. After 20 minutes, Malik stopped. "We should turn back. This doesn't feel right." But when they did, the entrance was gone. They retraced their steps, but the tunnel stretched on endlessly, bricks pressing in like a throat. Panic set in. Ryan's camera caught their frantic faces, their voices trembling. "Wait," Sarah whispered. "Do you hear that?" Footsteps behind them. Slow, heavy. They spun their flashlights back, but the tunnel was empty. The sound continued, matching their breaths, closer with every step. "Hello," Jess called, her voice cracking. A whisper floated through the darkness. "Keep walking." They ran. Their lights shook, bouncing across the dripping bricks. But no matter how fast they went, the tunnel didn't end. Then, one by one, their flashlights flickered out. First Jess's, then Malik's, until only Ryan's camera light remained, its beam catching shapes in the dark. Shadows, too tall to be human, pressed against the walls, their heads brushing the ceiling. "Don't stop," the whispers hissed. Malik screamed as something yanked him backward into the dark. His cry cut off instantly. Jess tried to grab him, but her hand came back wet, slick with blood or something worse. Ryan kept filming, his camera shaking violently. Sarah clutched his arm, sobbing, as more footsteps closed in. Figures moved at the edge of the light, dozens of them crawling along the walls, their faces pale and eyeless. The footage ends with Ryan dropping the camera as the light shatters. The last thing recorded is Sarah's voice, high and broken. They don't let you leave. Weeks later, city workers found the camera in a drainage pipe miles away. The footage was leaked online, going viral for its disturbing realism. But the 4 students, they were never found. No bodies, no belongings, nothing. And to this day, late-night maintenance crews swear they hear voices in the tunnels, young voices echoing in the dark, calling for help. Some say if you listen too long, the walls themselves begin to drip, and you'll see a tunnel that isn't on any map waiting for you.